Hi, Democrats. Today is Monday, October 31st. Happy Halloween. We have 8 days before the election. 8 days. We have 2 days before early voting starts. And so that's all I'm going to talk about is voting, because you guys know me. That's all I ever talk about, but that's what I'm here for. So 4 years ago, I was a staffer on the Oklahoma Democratic Party coordinated campaign, where we were trying to get our statewide candidates, Kendra Horn as a congressional member, Tim Gilpin for Congress, where we were in the same place. We were midterms 4 years ago. I was a staffer. And I remembered thinking, because I was a fan of Drew Edmondson, I wanted Governor Drew really badly. And so I worked really hard for it. And here we are 4 years later, midterms, electing a governor again. 4 years ago, I was outdone because the then candidate, Kevin Stitt, was running. And he was making all these promises and bragging about being a businessman and blah, blah, blah. But the thing that shocked me and dismayed me the most back then was the amount of his personal money he put into his race. Now, if you've ever talked to me about candidates and campaigns, I always encourage folks to fundraise the traditional way and to run a traditional campaign. I don't like self-funded campaigns. That's me personally. That's not the Oklahoma Democratic Party. That's me personally. Because I think that when you do fundraising, you have to reach out to people and convince them of your message and convince them to give you money because they believe in your message. You're not fundraising as a candidate. You're not fundraising for your light bill. You're not fundraising for your kids' private school. You're fundraising for the opportunity to take the state in the direction that folks want it to go in. And so I'm all opposed. I'm opposed to kitchen table campaigns. That's where people bring in their own money and they run their campaign without having to convince other people to fund it. The reason I mention this is because in 2018, candidate Stitt loaned himself over $1 million. The governor of Oklahoma makes somewhere less than $200,000 a year. And so my question was, why would someone put in $1 million of their own personal money, $1 million for a $200,000 paycheck? It's not because they're just dying so badly to do what's right for the state. Or it makes me wonder if that's what their motive is. If he just wants to help the state so much that he's willing to donate $1 million to a campaign, whereas he could donate it to a fund for the highways. You know, there are ways that you can give money to the state directly, but that's a whole nother conversation. So here we are now. I'm kind of grateful that our current governor hasn't bothered to really campaign. Not grateful because he hasn't had to make the choice, make the case for us, but because I don't like seeing his commercials. And I've been telling people in the last week or so, we're going to be inundated with commercials. We're just going to be, and it hasn't been as many commercials. There has been some of them have been disgusting, and some of them have been completely filled with fabrications, but there hasn't been as many as I thought we would see. But this weekend, the current governor loaned his campaign $1 million from his personal money. He loaned his campaign $1 million. That's how badly he wants to hold on to this seat. And it kind of cracks me up that here we are at 8 days left, and he did it at, 9 days, 10 days left, that he thinks that maybe he needs to campaign, which means that he's scared of his opponent, Joy Hoffmeister. He's nervous. And you can tell by the commercials where they imply that somehow Joy Hoffmeister raised gas prices. If someone could explain to me how the superintendent of public instruction in Oklahoma can raise gas prices for the world, I would love to sit down and hear that lesson. There are commercials, they're calling Joy Hoffmeister everything but a child of God. And that's because they're afraid, not because they believe these horrible things about her. And if they do, that's a whole nother conversation, but because they are afraid. And the fact that the Republicans Governor Association is spending money in Oklahoma shows that they are concerned. You have to ask yourselves why the bullies and billionaires are trying to buy the election. Then you have to ask yourself if you want to see that happen. You go out and you look at Joy's donations, and her donations to her campaign are $100 here, $1,000 here, $25 here. They're individuals who believe in what it is that she's saying. That's what you need to look at. Are there billionaires trying to buy the race, or is the candidate convincing folks to give to the campaign? And this is the campaign that I want to give to, is a campaign that is going out and making the case person by person, not millionaire by millionaire. It's nerve-wracking, but that's where we are now. And this is news that not everybody comes across, but I know, and I want to share that the current governor is trying to pay. He's trying to buy the election. And you have to decide if you're going to let him, or if you're going to educate everybody you know around you. Everybody you know, make sure that they understand what's on the ballot. They need to understand what's on the ballot. And what's on the ballot right now is education and our democracy. That's what's on the ballot on November 8th. And we have to protect both of them. We have to protect the education system in Oklahoma, and we have to protect our democracy. That's what's on the ballot. And do we want someone buying that? So that's a lot of talk about the governor's race, but that's the big news. I wanted to make sure you guys were aware of it. But when you show up after you've educated and you've made your plan and you've said your plan out loud to someone, you've articulated your plan, you make everybody that you come in contact, ask them how they plan on voting. Ask them if they've already voted, because they could have already voted by absentee. Ask them, who are they taking with them and who are they telling about? And as Angela said, find a voting accountability partner. If somebody tells you that they're going to vote early on Wednesday, you need to call them and ask them, hey, how were the lines when you went and voted early? And if they say, oh, I forgot, then you need to remind them that they can vote early on Thursday and they can vote early on Friday. But make sure that we hold each other accountable, that we show up and that we vote, because as Marianne said, that's correct. Human rights are on the ballot as well. Human rights across the board are on the ballot. Education, our democracy, and human rights are on the ballot. And those aren't small things. Those aren't little things. Those aren't things that only affect me or those in my family. Those are things that affect all of us as Americans, all of us as Oklahomans. So vote your values. I have been asked in this last 10 days to come and speak to a lot of nonpartisan groups about what's at stake right now. And when I go and speak in nonpartisan groups, I have to take off my Democratic Party hat. And I am comfortable taking off my Democratic Party chair hat, because I believe to my core that if you take the letters, just take the D's, the R's, the L's, and the unaffiliated off of a candidate, take it off, and just read what the candidate stands for, that the candidates that I know will earn your vote. Just take it off and read what they stand for, what their qualifications are. I will tell you that the candidates that I know are the best qualified candidates who are running for the offices that they're running for. They're the best qualified candidates. They're the candidates that actually you can go and meet and talk to, which is also important. They are accessible. And I don't mean just the governor's race. I don't mean just the U.S. Senate races or the congressional races. I mean our House races, our state House races, our state Senate races. I mean our court clerks, our county clerks, our city council candidates that are out there right now. You can pick up the phone and call them and ask them what they stand for. You can go to a county meeting. You can go to a barbecue. You can go to an event for water or an event for just the city or the county, and they're there, being regular folks without a whole lot of handlers between you and the candidate, where you can ask the candidate the questions that you have. And I think because it's supposed to be representative democracy, meaning that they represent us. And there's no way they can represent us without us telling them what we stand for. So it's more than vote your values. It's vote your values down the entire ballot. The entire ballot. And if you are a citizen in Oklahoma, Democrat, Libertarian, Republican, unaffiliated, You have a ballot. When you go, it won't be one of those days where they're like, you don't have a candidate. You will have candidates to vote for up and down the ballot. You need to vote your entire ballot because all the stuff that's coming back, states' rights stuff, is handled by our state legislature. Your county tax is handled by our county assessor and our county commissioners. All of that is increasingly more important as we continue to have a one-party rule in our state. We have to break that up. Now, if you are a registered voter, there will be a ballot there for you. Now, if you get there and there's not a county commissioner, either your county commissioner seat isn't up, or we were unable to find a candidate that would run. And if you're tired of showing up to the ballot and not having a House candidate or a Senate candidate or a county commissioner candidate to vote for, it's an easy fix. Help us find someone to run in those races. So if you're showing up this November 8th and you don't have a House candidate to vote for, I'm sorry, and I promise you that I tried. But you live in that community. You live in that community, and it's time to start now to find somebody to run in November of 2024. We know when it's coming. It's coming on November 2024. We have time to find somebody for that right now. So if you show up and you're mad because you don't have somebody to vote for, now is the time to be looking for someone who you feel like would support you, someone who would represent you. We're all in this together, folks. We're all in this together. Educate yourself, educate everybody you know, help everybody make a plan, and vote your entire ballot. Your entire ballot. All righty, thanks for joining me. I hope that you'll join Scott this evening at 6:30 for the Hamilton Report, where I've been talking about the boogeyman all October, all of the things that one party is trying to scare you about. And Scott's going to deep dive into all of those on his show this evening at 6:30. Thanks for joining me, and I'll be back here tomorrow at 4:15. You guys have a great evening.